Hey everyone, welcome to episode number 43 of the New Slang Podcast. I'm Thomas Mooney, the editor-in-chief of New Slang here in Lubbock, and this week's episode is with BJ Barham of Aquarium. This was originally supposed to come out last week, but unfortunately, last week I was sick with the flu the entire time, so that was a whole lot of fun. Anyways, I guess last weekend, Aquarium, they played here at the Blue Light here in Lubbock, and that's when we did this interview. It was around sound check, so it was a lot of fun. What's really interesting about seeing Aquarium this time around is that their first show as the new lineup was here in Lubbock, and seeing them, 4 months later, 3.5 months later, how much better they've gotten as a band, how much more comfortable everyone is on stage. I think it's kind of funny is that, that first show, you could see that these guys they've all been in these bands and they've all played, 1,000 times, and they're cool customers, I guess. But still, there was the lights were in their eyes. They were all kind of nervous that first time through. And this time, 3.5 months later, they've played so many shows together in such a short amount of time. They've already recorded a new record called Things Change that's going to be coming out in the spring. And, you can just tell that they're a band now. And we talk about this new record that's coming out, the transition between bands, why they were able to get inside the studio so quickly, working with John Fullbright, all that kind of good stuff. So, I'll go ahead and just stop talking on this little intro and go ahead and get to the interview with BJ. So, here it is. So, last time you guys were here, it was the first show that you guys played.
The very first show of the new lineup, yeah. It was Butterflies and Nerves, and watching a band that had met each other 3 days prior start something new. It was fun. Yeah, it was loose. It was sloppy. It was nerves. It was moments of brilliance. It was a lot of different things all in one. Yeah, but it was a hell of a starting point. And
what have you learned about this band since then?
That this is the band. This is 20 years from now, people look back at American Aquarium and this is the band. Mm-hmm. This is, I've finally surrounded myself 100 people that wanted to be here 100%. It's amazing what positivity does. It's amazing what people, what you can get done with people that want to be at their job. Mm-hmm. It was an eye-opening experience. I started American Aquarium in college, so American Aquarium was all friends. Anybody that ever joined the band, it was like a 6 degrees of me and one of their friends recommended them or something. This is the first time I went out and I recruited professional musicians to play in this band, and it's night and day. It's awesome because getting on stage with them every night, they're happy to have the work and they're happy to be involved with something that they can stand behind, and I'm just happy to be able to carry these songs on. Lubbock was we still talk about that show. It was like the first time where we got up in front of everybody and we said, wow, this is going to click. This might actually work.
Yeah. Well, one of the things too is basically everyone in the band had been a part of really major Lubbock staples at one point.
Oh,
basically
every single person in Texas they're like, man, you got a super band. Mm-hmm. You went out and you got members of other bands that we all loved, I think Ben Hussey might be more famous in this band than I am. Every show we go to, there's 6 Market fans that show up. There's Damn Quails. There's Statesboro Review. All the bands that he's been a part of, they come out and they recognize Ben immediately, or will load in, and whatever they're playing over the loudspeakers, he's like, "Oh, I produced this song. Yeah, I produced this one too. Oh, I remember when I produced this one." And it's just amazing to be surrounded by such talent, and especially in the state of Texas. When we're here, it's all these dudes I don't have to tell them anything. It's like they know all these clubs, they know all the people, they know all the bookers and the sound guys, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the things I think probably surprised a lot of people was not just like you going on with another American Aquarium, but like in turn also you guys are releasing a new record pretty soon.
Yeah.
That's really a quick turnaround. Was there like ever any thought that maybe I'm going to use these songs for another BJ Barham record, or was it always just kind of a...
So I wrote Rockingham in like the fall of 15, I guess. And those were the last songs I wrote for 2 years. The last couple years of the band were tumultuous. It was toxic. It was a lot of negativity, and my creativity is not conducive to negativity. There was too much of just people. We were all done. We were done with each other, and we tried to. It was like the marriage that tries to make it last for the kids. It's like we tried our best to make it work, and it just didn't, and it fell apart at the end. And over the last 2 years of the band, I didn't write one single new song. And that's a problem when I call myself a songwriter and other people call me a songwriter, and I make my living writing songs.
Yeah. When
I go 2 years without writing a song, that's a problem. Within the first 2 weeks of this band joining, I had a new record written. And I don't think that's a coincidence. I don't think that's oh, wow. It just all came to me at once. It was being surrounded by players that were, like, excited and told me, it's like, hey, we've got faith in you, man. Like, just sit down and write. Yeah. And so I did. And like I said, it took me about 2 weeks to write this record. And I couldn't be more proud of it. Lyrically, it's the best thing I've ever put to paper. Now I'm in that weird purgatory where the record's done, and I'm just waiting for a release date.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I want everybody to hear this thing right now. And so I've been putting up like acoustic videos, and then my manager's like, you've already put up like 6 acoustic videos. You need to like, leave something to the imagination. But it's weird because a lot of folks were very, very tied to the old band. The people in the old band, the music that we made together, that's what they thought of when they thought of this band. And there's a lot of people that, I'm sure we lost some fans along the way. When certain people weren't here, I'm sure they don't come to shows anymore. And I'm sure that they don't listen to us as much as they used to. And that's part of growth. I think every band I've ever loved has lost fans with records and lost fans with new members coming and new members going. That's part of this business. It's...
Well, honestly, like if you think about how long y'all were together, and most bands don't make it that far.
For sure.
In as far as years go. Well, and even like your favorite, most awesome bands, like they've only had little runs, right?
Like American Aquarium is the only band I've ever been in. I started the band. It's the only band I've ever been in. And I consider myself extremely lucky to have kept a band together for almost a decade. The same group of guys touring around the country, for better or for worse, every night, 250 to 300 shows a year, the same people. I consider that a feather in my cap, and a feather in all those dudes' caps, that we were able to put aside nonsense and the road and substance abuse and countless broken relationships to make it work for as long as we did. And I'll always look back on it fondly. Yeah. But it's... a lot of folks were like, oh, are you going to keep the band together? And like my only response was, of course I'm going to keep the band together. I started the band. None of those guys were original members of the band. And I still have something to say. So as long as I want American Aquarium to keep going, I think it's going to keep going. Yeah. And for a long time I denied saying that because it just sounded egotistical. It sounded cocky. But I've been reminded that like I write songs for this band. And as long as I want to sing those songs every single night, that this band has a fan base. I was worried that people weren't going to show up. And every show we've played, attendance has went up. Places that we used to couldn't put anybody in. Midland, Texas last night.
That's what Ben was saying last night.
We played Midland, Texas a couple years ago, and there were 15 people. Last night there was almost 400 kids in Midland, Texas. We're selling out San Angelo. Tonight in Lubbock sold out. We're selling out Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin, Green Hall. Legendary venues. Yeah. And that kind of set it aside for me as like, oh, people are still paying attention. People still want to hear these songs. and I've got a group of guys that want to play them every night. And so I'm in a really good spot. I was in a dark place last February, March, once everybody quit.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a really rough spot because it's like, imagine your wife telling you she's leaving you, but multiply that by 5. 5 of my best friends, 5 of the people that I literally have spent a third of my life with, said, we quit.
Yeah.
You're on your own. Good luck. Some of them didn't say good luck. But it was a dark moment. It was a lot of questioning. The same questions you're asking, like, should I keep doing this? What do I do? Should I just go solo? Will people even respect American Aquarium from here on out? And like I said, I'm sure we lost some fans, but what we lost, we gained.
Yeah.
In multiples. Every show, and it's not just Texas, it's all over the country. Our shows have gotten better, and the band has gotten tight. And we're a band now.
Mm-hmm.
We've played, almost 100 shows together now. It's a machine now. It's tight. It's like we know the set, and we went back and we're bringing back a lot of the old fan favorites that, like, maybe the last version of the band didn't want to play. They got tired of playing these songs. It's like, I don't want to play that anymore. This band's just like, let's play what we want to play. Let's have fun. Let's play what the fans want to hear. And that's really refreshing for me as a songwriter, for somebody to dig back to maybe the second or third record and be like, can we try to play this one again? I really like this song. Instead of having like 8 years of just being burnt out on a song, having fresh ears be like, no, I think this one's still good, man. Can we try it? And then bringing it back and watching the fans react to it. It's a cool feeling.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that, like, just fan bases in general, I feel that they want to believe in the fantasy that, your band's going to go on forever. Or a really great example of this is recently, like, the whole Patriots, Bill Belichick and Tom Brady aren't.
You find out that they kind of don't like each other.
Yeah. But it's like, a business relationship. And I think people would be surprised, not saying that you guys did not enjoy each other's company at some point, but obviously also you can get tired of people, and years from now
there were
it'll be
where every single one of me and the old guys on stage were having the best time of our life.
Mm-hmm.
But toward the end, it got to the point where we were like, when you go out to eat and you see that 60-year-old couple that doesn't talk to each other, they're out to eat, they're eating, they maybe ask, like, how's yours?
Yeah.
I'll take a bite of that. The conversation was gone. Like, we knew everything about each other, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
And it just got stale. And they got tired of just going through the motions of, because I wasn't writing songs.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I was bringing this new stuff to the table and being creative and kind of constantly keeping them challenged. I wasn't. I was letting them down as a songwriter.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the reasons I wasn't writing songs is because how unhappy I was. And it was kind of this weird, one thing can't exist without the other. But, like, for sure, like, there's people that came to shows and they saw 6 dudes who were best friends playing songs together. I will never deny that. And a lot of people were surprised when we were like, yeah, it's over. And then certain members came out and were very outspoken about how I wasn't happy and this wasn't what I wanted to do, and I wanted to pursue something else, and I didn't like this person, I didn't like that person. And people were surprised, like, oh no, like, we thought it was a perfect, like, symbiotic relationship. But it was a business relationship toward the end.
Mm-hmm.
People were showing up, and it was a paycheck, and we played our shows, and we put on the best show we could. And I don't think anybody ever came to a show and left not thinking they got their money's worth.
Yeah.
We always tried to set the bullshit aside for 90 minutes every day and do our job.
Yeah. Well, I always thought you guys sounded so, like, just, especially near the end there, you just sounded like one of the best bands I'd ever heard live. The first 2 times I remember seeing you guys play, I mean, it was more than the, like a bar band, kind of like, just more energy than, a good show. And towards the end, like, you guys just sounded amazing. Like, it just felt effortless,
Yeah, it was. At that point, we played almost 3,000 shows together. If it didn't sound effortless by then, we were doing something horribly wrong. When you play that many shows together,
mm-hmm.
it has to start like I said, I'm 100 shows in with these guys, and it feels really, really great. Imagine multiplying that,
Yeah.
like 3,000 shows. It's like we knew exactly what each other were going to do to a fault on stage. We knew exactly where the songs were going. We'd played them thousands of times. It was a great, like I said, we had a great run.
Yeah.
Me and that version of the band had a great run. But I'm looking forward now.
Yeah.
Well, it's
well, these new songs, I know, like in I guess like Rockingham, you had kind of made a little bit of a transition where so much of your writing's very first person.
For sure.
And in Rockingham, there were some songs that were more in that third person narrative.
Yeah.
How much have you continued going down that route of having a little bit more of that in the?
No, I'm back to the American Aquarium mindset, which is funny that my solo stuff is all like fictional narrative that's not me talking, and then all the American Aquarium stuff is just kind of really personal.
Yeah.
Almost too much. I'm like the oversharer at the bar in my songs. It's like, wow, dude, that's a lot of information that maybe you should have sat on for a second.
Yeah.
But the new record's the same way. It's the new record's the first time I've written about a lot of different subjects. Usually it's about, relationships not working out, for better or for worse. And this record is called Things Change. And it's just that. It's everything that's changed in my life since Wolves was recorded. Wolves was recorded in the summer 2014. Since then, I've gotten married. I got sober. I had a band quit. I had a band join. We had a presidential election, and I'm having a kid in April.
Yeah.
Needless to say, the well was deep.
Yeah.
For what am I going to write about? And then all of that was in front of me. So there's at least one or two songs about each one of those things I just listed.
Yeah. Well, that last song you guys soundchecked to.
The World's on Fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds super relevant.
It's extremely relevant. It's the first verse is about me and my wife watching the results come in on election night, and her crying and not knowing what was going on. Like, how is this even possible? Like, there can't be this much hate in the world.
Yeah.
And then coming to the realization that me and her lived in a bubble, and a lot of people lived in a bubble, and that a lot of people think differently than we do. Especially when you get behind that voting booth and nobody else can see what you're doing.
Yeah.
We have a lot of different views and stuff. And so I wanted I wanted to write a tasteful song about it. So the song's called The World is on Fire. And I don't think anybody can argue about the current state of we're a fractured country.
Yeah.
We're a broken country.
Well, we're two countries.
We're two countries right now. And it's this whole mindset. And the whole song, I'm not calling anybody wrong or stating that I'm right and you're wrong, because that gets us nowhere. It's just stating that, like, I'm getting ready to bring a child into this world that we think it's again, everybody wants to sit back and think that we live in this perfect country, and we don't. There's a lot of things wrong. There's a lot of hate and a lot of animosity and a lot of stuff that we've thought has been put to bed for 40, 50 years that is slowly bubbling back up, and people are feeling like they have the right to say things that we thought that we moved past as a country in the 60s.
Yeah.
That we haven't. That's obviously still very much a problem.
Yeah.
So that's just a song that addresses that. There's a few other songs. It's the first time on a record I've ever been anywhere near political. There's love songs on the record to my wife, talking about the struggles of marriage and keeping through and working at it. And there's songs about bands quitting on you, which I don't know how many people can relate to that, but it's written from the point of view of a friend who lost a friend and hopes that maybe one day that friend can look back on the friendship positively. There's songs about, my sobriety, 2 or 3 songs about my sobriety. There's songs about the new band, and just kind of going out and taking the world as much as you can by the balls, and adversity.
Yeah.
It's the record's about roadblock. How do you get past roadblock? Getting past roadblock. And I think it's pretty relevant to my current situation. But I also think that Joe Schmo, who was an electrician during the day, is going to be able to listen to those songs and be like, I get it. I totally get what he's saying right there.
Yeah. I know, like, in the past you've said that you've been so, like, a lot of these records, they come in, like on Rockingham, I know a lot of those songs came when you were over in Europe. And Like I know you've mentioned how one of the records you basically wrote in the studio for like a month. You guys recorded.
Yeah.
So, and it seems like just a lot of your stuff comes in these periods that are just a 2-week period, 3-week period that just is a lot of
chaos is what my music comes from.
Yeah. Well, I know like that's where you're doing all the writing, but do you have like a notebook of ideas that you go back to, or are those ideas just all coming at that time? Okay.
I have a notebook that I keep up with, like the one-liners, song ideas, song titles. I write a lot of song titles and then write songs around titles. But a lot of like one-liners and notes and like daily observations, things I pick up that I think are unique, or ways of saying things, like traveling around the country, hearing how someone says something, or like a dialect thing, or a regional saying that I think's fun, or I think that I've never heard in a song before, and inserting those in, because I think anytime you can add those personal touches to songs, even if it's a fictional song, when you add those small personal touches to a song, it's what makes it believable. Yeah, it's what makes it real. When you can have a character that sounds like somebody's uncle or somebody's aunt, they believe the song, even if it's coming from a fictional point of view. It's you add enough of those everyday personal elements into it, and it's a real song. It's believable.
Well, that's like I think all those little details, that's what makes it obviously believable. It's kind of like the difference between you've always had a dream, or you've had dreams where they feel so real, but when you wake up, you go, well, that was off in the dream, and that's what's the difference between having those like details that really are touchstones for actual life.
100%. It's the dreams where you're like riding a giant dragon and chasing a unicorn aren't real, but the dreams where you're like in your hometown, you're walking around, somebody comes up, says something to you, like that's what makes it real. And so it's my songs, I try to incorporate those guys that walking up and saying something to you. Like I try to make the narrator of these stories somebody somebody you hang out with a bar with, somebody. And I think a lot of people feel like they know me already from social media or meeting me at shows. So they're hearing these songs, and it's even that much more believable knowing me as a person. Yeah. That's why I think American Aquarium's had success. I don't think I'm the best writer. I don't think I have the best voice. I think I write relatable songs. I think I write songs that people can hear and say, I've been there. I can take my personal life experience and put that into that song, and that song means something more to me now because I know where it came from. I think that's why American Aquarium's always had success, and I think that's why our fans are so fervent. I think that's why we don't have mediocre American Aquarium fans. There's not fans that are like, I like a song or two. There's guys that like, I know this entire record by heart, and I have 3 tattoos on me, and I have like 4 handwritten lyric sheets up on my wall right now. It's like, that's our fans.
I got a question about the lyric sheets. Yeah. Like, at what point does your hand start hurting?
All the time.
Okay. All the time. Because like, I can't remember who it was I was talking with about that, and I was like, his hand, like he just has to have like, a bionic
on the website
hand
year round.
Yeah,
but I promote them at Christmas time because that's when most people ask about them anyway. And after you get about 20 or 30 deep on those things, your hand starts cramping up. I do them on flights a lot. Okay. If I have a 2-hour flight, I'll just have I'll have my notepad, and I'll just sit there and I'll just bang them out on a flight. And my hands hurt a lot. I'll stop and go sit on the couch. My wife will rub my hand, and then 30 minutes later, I'll go back and get back to it. But at the end of the day, I tell myself, I'm like, no matter how much my hand hurts, like if somebody's willing to spend their hard-earned money for me to write down things that I made up years ago onto a piece of paper so they can frame it or give it as a gift or give it to their child, I'm not going to complain about that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
That's a small thing that I can do to make somebody's Christmas or birthday or just day better. And that's where I've always been the guy that wants to go above and beyond for the people that support what I do. There's a lot of people that think they're entitled to be rock stars, that think they're entitled to be the voice of a generation. I'm not that guy. I'm glad my songs mean something to people, and when they tell me they mean something to them, I go out of my way to make sure that my songs always mean something to them. I never want to be the guy that somebody says, I met that BJ Barham guy, and I had such high expectations for liking him, and he was such a dick. Yeah. I never want to be that guy because I've met those guys. I've met my idols that I didn't want. I wish I never met them. I wish I just listened to the songs and not met them in person because they're terrible humans.
Going back to this record, Johnny Fullbright. He's the one who,
he's one of those talented dudes.
He's a guy who produced this record.
He's got a way with songs and words. John is a old friend and one of the people that I look up to. He's a contemporary that I am absolutely enamored with his writing.
Mm-hmm.
Every time he puts a record out or a song out, I'm flabbergasted at how much better he was when I said, there's no way he can write anything better than, High Road. And then he puts something else on, you're like, fuck that guy. Like,
yeah,
that's really great. And so I just I like making records away from home. I've made one record in Raleigh, and everything else. I made a record in Muscle Shoals. I made a record in Oxford, Mississippi. I try to branch out and make records. And so I knew that I was either going to make a record in Tulsa or Memphis. I wanted to go somewhere very similar to Muscle Shoals, a place that has a rich musical history, that kind of hasn't seen its heyday in a while.
Yeah.
And Memphis was one of those, and Tulsa was one of those. And the deciding factor was John Fullbright agreeing to produce the record.
Yeah. Well, like so many people say, like you just said right there, he's one of the great lyricists of our time. And that's what most people think of him as. Like, I don't know if many people would think of him as a producer voice though. Like what was the
he's produced
like
both his records.
Okay, yeah, but like even still, like what was the ultimate factor of like even having him as
it's
like
one of those things is I
guy
knew
in the
that if I
room?
took a group of songs to him, he'd be honest with me and tell me if they sucked or tell me if they were good. And there were a couple moments where he's like, "Holy shit, this is unreal." And it was one of those things where the boys were like, "John Fullbright just said that was unreal." Like,
Yeah.
we're on the right path. I love his records.
Yeah.
And I love how nuanced of his sound. He's really good at taking things away, which is what I think is the hardest thing about having a band, is bands want to add and add and add and add and make it big. And John's really great about, let's take as much away and it still have that same bite as, 3 different guitars on top of things.
Yeah.
Let's take it away. Let's strip the song away to where it still works on a very primal level. And he was that for us. He was that guy that said, you're doing too much, simplify it. You're doing too much, simplify it, until it got to the point where it's like, that's the song. That's what it should be. Like there was one song on the record, One Day at a Time.
Mm-hmm.
We came in with a full band arrangement that was a full-blown rock and roll Tom Petty song. It was a big, bombastic song.
Yeah.
And on the record, it's an acoustic guitar. He's like, you can't record that with a band. He's like, that's a solo song. And the band, we were all just kind of like, we really like the band version. He's like, get in the booth and just record it with an acoustic guitar, slow it down, and I promise you. And I got in there and I played it, and what you hear on the record is the first take of me playing with the acoustic guitar. The boys, I walked out, I was like, what'd y'all think? They're like, yeah, the band should play on that. Like, that's the song.
Yeah.
And we would have never done that if it wasn't for John Fullbright. We would have had this big, bombastic thing covering up an extremely personal song.
Yeah. How long were you guys recording this record?
9 days. We were up in Tulsa for 9 days, and we got some, Fullbright did a lot of the backing vocals, and he did all the keys. Byron Berline came in and played all the fiddle on the record. John Moreland came in and sang on the record. We really tried to take advantage of Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. We tried to take advantage of being in this hotbed, this revival of music.
Yeah.
That Tulsa area is something's in the water. I don't know what it is, but Felker, Fullbright, Moreland, Parker Millsap, J.D. McPherson, some of my favorite voices of the last 10 years have came out of Tulsa.
Yeah.
And they're all kind of the same age, and it makes me mad because I'm like, what did y'all just get together and decide to take over the world of songwriting? Because they're absolutely great. And it was really fun to be in that town and be surrounded by the history of that town, and going out with Fullbright and meeting the people that kind of were there when it was in its heyday. We did a couple songs at Teagarden Studio, which is David Teagarden. He was the drummer for the Silver Bullet Band. He was the drummer for Clapton. He was the drummer for J.J. Cale.
Yeah.
And him just listening to stories of guys like that when, like, yeah, Tulsa used to be super cool.
Yeah. No, of course, yeah.
And it's starting to, like I said, you can just see the city changing now. It's it's getting back to where it was. It's turning into a super hip music town.
Yeah.
And we were just happy to be there for a week and a half and make arguably, in my opinion, the best record this band's ever made.
Yeah.
I say it about every record because I'm an egotistical musician that thinks that my newest record is the most brilliant thing I've ever done. But sonically, I think this record is absolutely it's a game changer for us. I think a lot of people who love the band are going to love it, and a lot of people who wrote the band off a long time, if they hear this record, they go, okay, I'll go back and give that a chance.
Yeah. I used to be a major Eric Clapton fan.
Yeah.
And like Clapton, like all his dudes were Tulsa guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
There's something cool about it, man.
Oklahoma is just, I think, I don't know, like you said, I don't know what it is about Oklahoma. I think there's been a lot of great songwriters just in this last decade that have just come out, and I don't know if it's necessarily like, I was talking with Evan about this, is like, it's not necessarily fun living in rural areas, And
some of my favorite songwriters came from podunk towns because there's nothing else to do except for write about how shitty your town is.
Mm-hmm.
And you get pretty eloquent about writing how shitty your town is.
I think that like is one of the major contributing factors is like, and I know a lot of people have said that about Lubbock over the years, is that there's nothing to do here other than,
there's not many trust fund kids.
Yeah.
That write really great songs. There are not many trust fund kids from Brooklyn that write, these really blue collar anthems. I'll give Dawes a pass. Dawes is one of the only bands that I'll give a pass of being affluent kids that still write relevant music. But
I'm like one of the only guys who is like not a Dawes fan.
Not a Dawes fan. Oh.
I think they sound good, and like I think they would be. They're like if there was like any songwriter who was like, yeah, Dawes is playing my record, I would be like, oh, it's going to sound amazing.
Yeah.
But for some reason, like just the songwriting doesn't resonate with me.
I think Taylor is such a great songwriter. It's so catchy and good and everything I want out of Laurel Canyon.
Yeah.
It's like it sounds like a Jackson Browne record. And maybe that's why I like it so much.
Well, I like Jackson Browne
because all their stuff sounds so, it's distinctively California.
Yeah.
But it's also like, I'm a redneck from North Carolina, and I can still relate to some of the stuff they're singing about. It's kind of neat.
Jackson Browne was always one of those guys who I was like, there was probably like a 3-month period where I was, Jackson Browne is the greatest songwriter I've ever heard.
He's up there.
Like, it just, I don't know, like he had a period there where his songwriting was just fucking amazing, around The Pretender. I think like that era is just incredible. Anyways, though. Let's go back to talking about this new record. You mentioned how you like to get into another place. Is that just to, and I know like a lot of people have mentioned this, but like to cut off like the distractions of home, of like, showing up having to go home and like, pay the bills and go get groceries, just all that kind of stuff can, interfere with making a record, make it feel like you're making a record.
It's I've done the Rockingham I did in Durham, Bible in the Bottle I did in Raleigh. So I've done the records where you can, like, you go to and you treat it like a job. You go in from 8 to 5 every day and you're home to have dinner. I feel like when you live somewhere else, when you're staying in a hotel room every night, there's no distractions. You're there to make a record. You wake up every morning. Nobody wants to just sit in a hotel room. You're there to make a record. And at the end of the day, instead of being like, well, what do I have to do? I have to go back to a hotel room, or I could stay here and maybe try to mine another 2 or 3 hours of music.
Yeah.
You always choose 2 or 3 hours of music instead of, well, my wife's waiting for me at 6. I kind of need to, but we're right in the middle of a great idea. Yeah, but dinner's cooking,
Yeah.
That's what I love about living somewhere else and making a record, is removing that distraction, removing that reason to leave right in the middle of something cool.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Tulsa was. Tulsa was great because I don't know too many people in Tulsa. So I didn't have any, it wasn't like, let's go hang out with friends, or let's go get some food, or let's go to the bar. It was like, we're here to do work. We're here to make a record.
Yeah.
And that's what we did.
Yeah. Did Fullbright show any new stuff? I know a lot of people were like all wanting a new Fullbright record.
He made hints to, like, I think that recording this record is going to make me want to get back in the studio and make another record.
Yeah.
That kid could burp out an idea better than any record I'll ever make. But I have a feeling he'll get back in the studio here pretty soon.
Yeah.
I think everybody's itching for a Fullbright record, and I think him being in the studio just creating music and I think he got bit by the bug. I
Yeah.
can't speak for him, but
Yeah.
it wouldn't surprise me in the next year or two if you see another Fullbright record coming out.
Yeah. I like you said, I love his records. But yeah, anyways.
He's one of the good guys, man. He's one of the people I'll be able to brag to my kids and say, yeah, I used to know him. They'll be like, no, you didn't, Dad. Shut up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, you want to go get a Topo Chico?
Yeah, let's get out
Let's
of
go
here,
then.
man. Thanks for talking to me.
Well, thank you for joining us here.
Oh, heck yeah, man.